This is a video about the jump mechanics in Ultimate Chicken Horse. It's a platformer, so having great jump mechanics is really important to having a great game experience. So I wanted to go over all the ways that we improved the jumping so that it was great to control. What makes it great is that there's a huge variety of things that you can do with it. You can do a tiny tap for this little tiny jump, or I can hold it longer for a bigger jump, or I can hold it for a really long time for the maximum jump. And I can do any jump in between, so I can avoid little obstacles or big obstacles, get in the air for a long time, or stay in the air very briefly. Whatever I need, I can do. There's a bunch of different pieces that go into making the jump great. So I have all the characters set up at different stages of jumping ability. So red is its position, and blue is acceleration. So this horse has nothing fancy going with the jump. Press jump, he gets a velocity up, gravity pulls him down at a constant rate, and it makes a perfect parabola. When you press jump, there's an instantaneous acceleration upwards. It's huge, but it's only for one frame, gets the horse going. The horse is going up, he's moving up the graph, he's slowing down at a constant rate. So this blue line right here is constant acceleration down. So it went way up, acceleration up to go up. Starts constant acceleration down, which is gravity, which is like real life. There's nothing fancy going on. No matter how long I hold jump, it's all about the initial jump speed that changes how long he's in the air. I have no control. I can do a tiny press, I can do a long press, it doesn't do anything. So this jump, while realistic, is not very fun to play and doesn't give me any of the control that I need to make a good platformer game. So what does Raccoon have going on? This little raccoon actually has two amounts of gravity that can influence him. The first gravity is low gravity, and it's at 0.5, so there's half gravity when low gravity is on. So low gravity is on. When I press jump, low gravity instantly turns on. Gravity is low on the way up. Once he gets to a certain point, you can see in this acceleration graph, this right here is low gravity. At a certain point, gravity gets turned up. Instantly it goes up, and regular gravity is invoked, and he falls faster. So there's two different things that invoke the transition from low gravity to high gravity. The first is if I just hold jump for a long time, he'll go up, and once he reaches somewhere near the peak of his jump, gravity is switched from low gravity to high gravity. I define this switch point in the program with this number velocity peak. You could do it like the normal assumption that the peak of a jump is when the velocity equals 0, when you're going up, and that's where I wanted high gravity to kick in, because I wanted the fall down to be a little bit faster than going up, because it feels better, and it feels like you have more controls. This is something I learned that Mario did, so I wanted to emulate it. I didn't exactly like the feel of the high gravity kicking in right at the top of the jump. It just didn't quite feel right, so I made it so that it kicks in right before the top of the jump. As you're moving up, once your velocity upwards hits 7.7 units per second up. Before that you were going faster, so you're going at like 12 units per second up, and suddenly gravity's pulling you down, you're going 11, you're going 10, you're going 8, you're going 7, and suddenly you're going less than 7.73 units up, and the game sees that you're moving up less quickly than that, and it's like, oh, it's time for high gravity, or regular gravity. So it switches from low gravity to high gravity mode, and pulls you back down to the ground a bit faster than you were going before. So that's if I hold the button down. It switches from low gravity to high gravity mode at the peak of the jump. The other time it switches is if I let go of jump before I get to my set peak. If I press jump quickly, low gravity mode is on for just a second, and then it switches to regular gravity mode. I can enhance this effect by changing low gravity to something like 1/5 of full gravity. So I can make a really high jump by holding jump, so there's low gravity, and then I hit the peak and I go down. Or I can jump for just a second, it's low gravity, and once I let go, full gravity is initiated and I'm pulled back down to the ground. In the physics of this world right now, it's very distinctive when low gravity and high gravity are switched. As an animator, I wanted that to be a smooth transition. In this acceleration graph, so it's low gravity, transition to high gravity. That's a little jarring as an animator. I want it smoother. We've got the sheep jumping. If we look at the graph now, well, we start in low gravity going up. Once we get to the peak, the transition from low gravity to high gravity happens. It's really nice and smooth. We get to high gravity, so the parabola will look even nicer than it did before, so the animation will look better and it'll feel more natural. But I'm kind of back to where I was, having this jump that I can't really control or make really small. I have barely any control over this, because the transition is always the same length of time. So to make it a variable transition time, I did what I did to the chicken. When I do a short jump, so gravity was low right here, I let go of the button, the jump button. Very quickly there was a transition to high gravity, so to get the character down to the ground very quickly, because I want to be able to do a tiny little jump. Still not tiny, but I'll show you how I get there soon. But now the transition is very fast from low gravity to high gravity. But if I hold the button longer, I get a very nice smooth transition. We get this really good smooth transition, low gravity, high gravity, good transition between. And that transition is determined by how long I hold the jump button down. I put that variable in this jump cap transition time. So the way that I define the transition time is actually with a curve. I like animation curves a lot because they're easy for me to understand and to edit and make changes so that I can get exactly the feeling that I want out of the curve instead of just doing it with math. So this curve represents how long the transition between low gravity and high gravity is going to take. This way represents the time that I'm holding a button, holding the jump button. So if I hold it for like a tiny tenth of a second or something, I'll get this number right here. So the transition time will be between 0.0 and 0.1, so it'll be like 0.5. If I hold the button longer, I'll get a longer output. If I hold it all the way up to here, I'll get a maximum of just under 0.5 seconds, somewhere between 0.05 and 0.5. There's no other numbers that I can get out of this system. I kind of like doing that as an animator. I know all the numbers that I could possibly get, and if I want to adjust it quickly, it's very easy to just get in this curve editor and change it. So that jump cap transition time curve, it figures out how long the transition from low gravity to high gravity is going to take. The last piece of the puzzle to get the very little jumps and the big long jumps is to modulate gravity. I do that also with the curve. So this gravity curve is what I use to modulate gravity. This curve I use for this reason. I want high gravity when you're moving up quickly, just regular gravity when you're moving up a bit slower, and when you're coming down, I want regular gravity. So on the x-axis, I put the velocity y. So the vertical velocity, I input into this curve. So let's say you're moving upwards at a speed of 11. You evaluate the curve at 11. It evaluates right here on the curve, which outputs a value of about 3. So 3 times regular gravity. So this is used when I'm not in low gravity mode. I'm using regular gravity. It actually adds extra gravity as I'm moving upwards. Now as I slow down, because I'm getting pulled down by gravity, the amount of gravity that is pulling me down actually gets reduced all the way down to 1 right here. Once I get to the peak of my jump, where I'm going at velocity 0, gravity equals 1. There's been a smooth transition in gravity from a high gravity to a regular gravity. So once all of those things come together, which is probably too many things for any rational person to make, it lets me do these tiny little jumps and these big jumps and everything in between. it sure makes a weird acceleration graph. I press jump right here. Go up instantly, a lot of acceleration up, gets me up to speed. Then low gravity kicks in for a moment. Once I let go of the button right here, the program decides how long this transition right here is going to take. The transition from low gravity to regular gravity, how big this transition is determined, and that's based on how long this was held right here. So this determines how long this will be. And then we check how hard high gravity is going to be. So that's why this gravity goes way up for a moment, because it gets exaggerated by the high gravity for a moment, just to get you moving down so that you don't go too high, and that gives you the big dynamic range. And then a little less gravity to regular gravity of 1. So it's sort of a weird modulation of gravity, but it ends up giving you a game that controls really nicely, and then you have all these different amounts of jump. The last thing I wanted to talk about was terminal velocity. Hopefully this overview of the physics system helps explain a little bit of the thought process that goes on behind the scenes when you're trying to make characters move just the right way. I think the most important thing is making characters that have a big dynamic range, so you can do little jumps and big jumps and everything in between. If you don't have the dynamic range, then you can't really express yourself through movement, which is really the point of platformers and really the point of a lot of video games. So thanks for watching. If you're interested in Ultimate Chicken Horse, we're running a Kickstarter. Check the link below, kickstarter.ultimatechickenhorse.com. It'd be greatly appreciated if you supported us, or just subscribe to the videos, or tell other people about it. There's a demo that you can play. You can download from the Kickstarter page if you're interested, and you can feel all these fantastic physics for yourself. Thanks, bye.